One thing you want to notice is if you are paying attention to what you're doing. How many times do you forget what you just did, and therefore, or it's kind of foggy, or you're just second guessing it for whatever the reason, and you go back and do it. You're not sure if you turned off a light in the house. You go back and check, or you're not sure if you checked something because you were looking at it before doing something, whatever, and you go back and check. Now I understand if we have other things on our mind and we're doing things at once or multiple things at once, and meanwhile we have something on our mind, and it becomes something that you aren't really paying attention to, which is what you're actually doing, or you're not paying attention to it enough that you're like, wait a second, what was I just doing, or did I do that, or it's like you set your alarm to go to sleep, right? And then you have to check it to make sure it's on, make sure it's on the AM part that you want. You do it 2 or 3 times. What is happening here? You check your door handle of your house before you leave 2, 3, 4 times. I know this may seem like an obsessive compulsive thing, but that's not what I'm referring to at all. Although that seems to be kind of in alignment with, repetitive or continuous behavior of some sort. But that's not what I'm referring to here, because there's nothing in your mind telling you have to do it. There's nothing, that's in a way haunting you to repeat a behavior as many times in a row, or something bad will happen, or there's nothing like that. It's just a matter of in this example that we're just forgetting. Forget what you're doing. How could you forget what you're doing? Now I get it if you become forgetful because for whatever the reasons, all the things I mentioned, all that makes sense. But what if it's deeper than that? What if it's not that? And how do you know if you have discernment of what is actually going on here? I'd like to say, regardless of the actual reason, other than maybe it's because you aren't present enough in your own life to realize that what you're doing is important. And what you're doing, when we say something's important, I know we put the word importance on things like, oh, that's important, this important. If you thought that was important, you'd be doing that or whatever, And that's kind of what I'm referring to here, because this is in a way the same thing, It may not be about another person. It may not be about if your job was important, you would do this, or if your life was important, you would do that, or in a way it's very similar. Although it's this, what I'm referring to here in my other examples was, you're doing something, it could be anything, and it even could be a minor thing, did you turn a light off to the house or something, and as small as these things are, I'd like to see these could be big indicators. These, in a way, these could be massive or even life-changing indicators that we're not really paying attention to, because they're on a scheme of things minor. It's I'm not sure. I just double check to make sure. Okay, I'm good. It doesn't have to be in my mind, or because that could indicate that you are actually you're not here, and mentally and emotionally. And when I say mentally and emotionally, I don't mean you have to have emotions, and I'm also not saying you have to be here with some kind of intelligence. What I'm referring to here is just being here, alive in your moment, or experiencing it and realizing what you're doing. I'm not saying you have to pay attention to it in a very specific, what is this I'm experiencing, or how could I experience this in a way I'm trying to experience it, or would like to, or could. It has nothing to do with any of that. Not to say that couldn't be helpful, because that could be more grounding and bring us into the moment of I'm actually in this room, I realize I'm in my body, and all that stuff is actually life-changing as well, or could be. But I'm just referring to realizing what you're doing and paying attention to it. Kind of like reading a book. Sometimes we'll read and we'll be like, what did I just read? That's in a way very similar to what I'm referring to here is, is something else on your mind? Are you doing more than you could be doing? Is there another problem in life that's causing this? Or is it that you're actually not here realizing even what you're doing? And that's such an important thing, because look at this. If it's even just about like reading some, a line in a book, or, a page in a book, and you're like, I don't even know what I just read. Or you're watching TV, you're like, I don't even know what the show's about. Or I forgot the light that, the light was on, or I'm not sure, or did I lock the door? Or, is the coffee pot still on? Or, I wasn't sure if I checked to make sure my alarm to wake me up in the morning was correct. Or, what was I even just doing, Or it's like similar to like I go into one room to go do something, and I'm like, I stand there for a second, I say, realizing, why am I in this room? Or what was I just trying to do? All this is very similar in a way. Although they're all different experiences and all different examples, they're all very similar, because it's like, hang on a second, are you realizing even what you're doing? Because look, if it's as small as these things, and those in fact could be major things, because what if you wake up late to work, or now you're rushing, or what if you actually forgot something that was plugged in, and now that maybe causes some kind of fire, or maybe your just electric bill's going up, or maybe that's not even a big deal, or somebody could walk in your house if your door was unlocked or it was open, or did you close your garage door, or those could be like severe or problematic, as small as those are, but I'm not even referring to that. I'm referring to these are even worse than that. Meaning this could be an indicator of something so much bigger that's going on. And we look at these as small little things, and they could be. Meaning, no, it could be small things. You forgot. You were stressed out. You were tired. You weren't thinking for whatever the reason. You had something else on your mind. All that could be true, but how do you know it's that? And how do you know it's not that you, for whatever the reason, aren't really here experiencing your life, just being here? Because that in itself is important, to be here. To be here, that you're paying attention to what you're doing. It's like, if you're not paying attention to these small little things that we call small, I'm going to call them major, because it's not the thing that I'm referring to. It's not the action of what I'm referring to. I'm referring to actually being here, realizing that you're even doing anything. And how? And do you even want to? Or not? And to even what degree? Any of that could change to any capacity, because you want it to be that way. But yet, we can go through our life not realizing not only what we're doing, not only why, and not only just how, but do you even want to do any of that? You see, this is the thing. This is what it all comes down to, just realizing what the heck you're doing. Paying attention to it. I mean, if you're not doing that, even for these small things that I'm calling like small, although they're not, as you could try to realize that I'm trying to give reason why these could just be indicators of something monumental. How do you know then you're really listening to somebody? Your mind's not somewhere else. Or how do you know then you're really paying attention when, you're zoned out? Or how do you know you're really, you're taking in the information and trying to learn and process and understand it and reflect, when that's what we could be doing when we're trying to understand something. And instead you're waiting to speak, or you're waiting to interrupt, or you're waiting to have your ideas said or heard, or, we say, well, maybe we're bored. Maybe you're not bored. Maybe you're insecure. Maybe you're scared. Maybe you don't want to be here being alive. It all comes down to just realizing, what the hell are you doing? Are you even paying attention? And it sounds so simple. I'm going to tell you, it's not. Because a lot of us don't realize that our mind shuts down our ability to have an opinion. It shuts down our ability to we can have an opinion, but it shuts down your ability to even realize Why are you having your opinion? But wait, we'll react and over opinionate and overburden not only anyone else, but our own emotions. It's like, I'm doing it too much. I'm so stressed out. I'm not even taking care of myself. So of course, maybe I'll affect other people, and I'll even say, I don't care. They deserve it, or they're wrong. How do you even know you're doing any of that if you can't even realize where you're sitting? Or why? Or do you even want to? Something simple as that. And this is what I'm referring to. This scales into everything we do. So I mentioned all the little things like turning off the light, or, did you forget something? But it scales into everything. It scales into our relationships. It scales into, our friendships. Scales into, are we even paying attention to, do we even have a passion, or why, or how did that even come about? Or is there something not fulfilled in your life? Or, are you really happy, or you think you're happy, or could you be happier? And how do you even know the difference? See, this is so big, it's silly that we're not even noticing that this takes place at the smallest levels of things I barely even noticed, such as turning off or turning on a light. And we do everything so subconsciously. We do everything so because we've learned how to do these things, and we're not really paying attention to what something feels like and what we're doing or why. So it's like we're on automatic program, when in fact, while that may be true, and in fact is true, there's also a part of us that's on autopilot to not really even care, not even try, not even self-realize. That's on autopilot. You get to that. That's where you need to get to. Everything else, fine. Everything else could be subconsciously run. Okay, fine. I'm not going to have my subconscious avoid, suppress, and ultimately control my existence to just care about how I'm even doing anything, even just existing. Get to that, and you start to realize that, and everything will change. How you talk will change. What you think about changes. All for the better, too, because it's now based off of not this autopilot program of the subconscious, or anything we want to say is just, oh, I'm just being who I am. No, you start to self-realize. You start to be, it's so difficult to get to this point, but it's completely achievable. And you that's like the connection with your soul. That's the connection with who you really are. And that's what I think, the ultimate goal of life is, to be able to get to this point and realize you're at that point and to maintain that point, which all sounds so damn easy, or so simple, or sounds like whacked out of your mind. Like, what are you even talking about? I'm fine. To me, I think that's the goal, though, to be able to get there. And not only that, but realize you're there, and to monitor it and try to maintain it.